Hey, it's Brett with Overland Expedition Specialists. So, it's going to do a quick rundown on JK Death Wobble alternatives besides the track bar, because not all of the Death Wobble is just the track bar. Um, and my Wrangler had about 90,000 miles last October when Death Wobble started, and so I had already replaced the control arm bolts in the axle side on the front and the rear to a shouldered bolt. So I kind of thought that wouldn't be my problem, but when I did pull the track bar, I had wallowed out the axle side and the frame side. So don't rule that out. And it's definitely something you should check first or early on. And anyway, I replaced my track bar and I still had death wobble. So from there, I started working, and I replaced everything from the drag link down, or from the pitman arm down. Um, but I'll give you a few suggestions for things that are beyond the track bar to check, and some of them are free or easy to check before you start buying parts and throwing things at it. Because I basically rebuilt my whole front end on the Jeep. Um, what happens is it's kind of like a frequency wave is what causes the vibrations, and then they run through the whole suspension and find whatever your weakest link is. So a simple thing to try, and I would say first, is change your tire pressure. Um, the sidewall, that's going to change the way the sidewall and how your Jeep is going to absorb the wave and transfer it into the system. Whether you lower the PSI or raise the PSI, I would adjust your PSI and then take it somewhere where you know that the death wobble has occurred in the past and see what it does. May not be a solution, but it's free. Um, from there, I would work on checking your tie rod ends. Take a large plier, and you can use the teeth on the bottom, the teeth on the top, and compress it and see how much play the ball joint has in the tie rods. From there, I jack up the tire on a passenger side or driver's side, jack up the axle, take a pry bar, slide it underneath the tire, and raise it with a little bit of force and see whether or not the tire moves separately from the axle. If it doesn't move on to shake the tire back and forth and see whether or not you have any play in the unit bearings. Um, that could occur too, especially if you got high mileage. Um, at that point, I would look at your control arms, specifically your upper control arm bushings. So whether you got a stock suspension or an aftermarket suspension, those bushings that are pressed into the axle are almost always going to be there. There's a few kits that offer an alternative or a Johnny joint, something like that. Metal Cloak offers their version, but most people will have that factory bushing in there. And so if you got any kind of mileage at all or hard wear and tear on it, there's a good chance that that control arm bushing could be bad. So any of these things could cause, um, and even alignment and tire balance. I wouldn't pay for a professional alignment until you've kind of exhausted all your parts that you may want to replace. Because if you change out your tie rods or you change out your ball joints, then you would probably want to go get a professional alignment. But you can do a tape measure alignment in your driveway for the purposes of this, and just make sure that you're not way out of alignment. Usually I'll take a can of spray paint and I'll spray a line down the center of the tire, and then take a straight edge and mark. If you can't see the center of the center press seam, then you can create one in that spray paint. And tire balance can be also, but to me, alignment, tire balance, and steering stabilizer are all more of a frequency neutralizer than they are a cause or a solution for the death wobble. Uh, I would say run through this checklist because you spend an afternoon just checking for these things, and then you can start spending money on whatever the one that looked the worst to you is and work your way back so that maybe you don't have to rebuild the whole front end of the Jeep. I probably will keep this Jeep indefinitely, so at least I know now at 90,000 miles I've got a whole front end rebuilt. But if you're getting frustrated because the track bar is not the solution, then run through these things and don't take anybody's word for a steering stabilizer being a solution. On my TJ, I've got JK axles, and I've never run a steering stabilizer on that. So I can run a JK axle with no steering stabilizer for 4 years of hard abuse and never have death wobble out of it. The steering stabilizer's job is to slow down or neutralize those vibration frequency waves. If you only slap a stabilizer on there and keep on going, you're just going to end up wearing out more parts. I did replace my drag link all the way to the pitman arm, but I don't believe that's a cause of death wobble. But if you've been running with death wobble for a while, a month like I did, trying different things and doing, you can cause excess wear on the drag link. And like I said, at 90,000 miles, mine needed to be done anyway. So hopefully this will give you a few more things to look at and try besides the just track bar answer, because the track bar is a common cause, but it's not the only cause. All right, thanks.